There we go. All right, what is another way that f of x equals 1/7 to the x could be written? Well, if you don't want it to be a fraction, what you can do is flip it. So it would be just a 7, and then you can make the exponent negative. Did I skip your group? I'm so sorry. Oh, no, you have papers. Okay, sorry. What's your question? Oh, sorry. I'm going to kind of just talk at you. I know I don't like doing that either, but I want to finish. Do you know what I'm saying? You guys can chime in. You don't have to be silent. You can talk to me, but I want to make sure we get it done. Bless you. Leave a little gap, and it's going to equal the exponent. That's the point of a logarithm. It's going to equal the exponent, which is x. And so then m has to go in the only other spot that's there. So decide what's the base, decide what's the exponent, and then fill it in. Now this one says e, so it's going to be ln. That's like writing this log base 2. When we write ln, that's this part of it. All right, leave a little gap. It's going to equal the exponent, which is 9, and then y has to go there. This is the same thing, but the other way. Again, decide the base, decide the exponent, and then there's only one other thing there. 6 is the base, 7 is the exponent, equals x. 6 to the 7th would be a very, very large number. All right, this one, your base is e to the power b equals 54. So those, you're not really doing any math, you're just sort of pushing symbols around and rearranging it. All right, these are your properties. Please listen to me. I'm going to reward you for listening to me. The answers to these, and they're matching on the test, is either 1, 0, or x. Those are the only options. And if there's an x in the problem, the answer's x. Okay, so when you look at this one, do you see how the exponential base a and the log base a cancel? Your answer would just be x. People put things that aren't 1, 0, or x, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, those are the only options, right? You mean like those are the only options? Yeah, I mean, I have other choices on the test, and people use them, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Yes. All right, so this one would be, what do you think? 1, 10's not an option. This one would be 0. A to anything to the 0 power gives you 1. This one, the log base a, exponential base a cancels, so that's just x. E to the 0 power is 1, so that one's 0. ln and e cancel, so 1, or you could think of it like e to the power 1 equals e. This one's x, and ln and e cancel, that one's x. If log base a of x equals log base a of y, then x equals y. And I put this one on here as your change of base formula. I'm going to put it here. It's not on the test though, but it is good to know. Instead of base a, if you want to make it base b, so like something else, it would be log base b of x over log base b of a. Again, that's back from the olden days when you didn't have a calculator that would do base 2 or base 3 or something else. They would only do base 10 and base e, so we had to change them. All right, this section is like your Quizlet game. What do you think about this? 4. Cool. Now this is 10 to what power is 100? 2, and you can just count the zeros is what's going on there. This is 23 to what power is square root of 23? Basically, it's what exponent means a square root, and that's 1/2. Good. 1/3 is the cube root. This one would be 3. I always say this one's a little tricky, but I threw one like this on the notes and y'all just said the answer. So I don't know. I always think it's hard, but you guys kind of seemed okay with it. If you have square root of 6 squared, that will get you 6. But then you have to square again to get to 36. So it's squared squared, which is to the 4th. You have to square it and then square it again. I threw one like that on the notes and a bunch of you just went 4. And I was like, wow, that really impressed me. But do you get what I'm saying? Squared, squared. 2 times 2 is 4. All right, this one would just be 1. This one, ln and e cancel, so it'd just be 88. How about this one? -2, good job. This one, they cancel, so 71. This one, 3 cubed is 27, but you have to flip it, so -3. These two are finding the inverse. If it's exponential, your inverse is log. If it's log, your inverse is exponential, okay? When you get stuck, and notice I said when, not if, what's your question that gets you unstuck? What is the base? Think of Meghan Trainor, right? So swap x and y, you're going to have x equals 7 to the negative y plus 4. We've got 3 steps of work here. What are we going to do first? You have to get the 3 steps in the right order. Subtract over the 4, good. Now I'm stuck, so what's the base? 7. So it's log base 7, x minus 4 equals negative y. Again, it equals the exponent. That's the whole point, is that it's going to equal the exponent. And then what's your last step there? Yeah, and you can just erase it and move it to the other side. I'll rewrite the whole thing so you can see it. And if you write equals y, I will not take off any points, but it is an inverse, and we should know our inverse notation. It's the little f with the negative 1. But if you look at that problem and see there's a base 7, you should go, oh, my answer should have a log base 7 in it. So like, do you see how this base is 9? Our answer is going to be 9 to the something. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I already know that before I even do the problem. All right, so scribble out f of x, put y. We're going to switch x and y. You're going to make it. I know, it's Friday. We'll be okay. All right, first step. Again, 3 steps of work here. Yeah, add over the 7. And then you're kind of stuck, so you go, what's the base? Which is 9, so it's going to be 9 to the power x plus 7 equals y minus 2. And then you're going to add the 2. It just gets tacked on at the end. You can't combine that with anything. So it's just going to look like that. And again, if you write y, that's fine, but it is an inverse, so we should know our inverse notation. These last 2 on this front side are your expand and condense. So for this one, we should have 3 separate logarithms, 1 for the a, 1 for the b, 1 for the c. You take the powers and you write them out front. So what's your power for square root? A half. So it's going to be 1/2 log base 7a. Why is it minus? Good job. It's on the bottom. So minus 3 log base 7b, and then still minus, because it's still divided, 2 log base 7c. Again, you're not actually doing anything, you're just rearranging it. But the reason we have these properties is because when we flip this paper over and we go to do the equations, you need the properties in order to do the equations. That's the point of them, okay? This one, we're going to condense it, so you're only going to write log base 2 one time. And what I usually do is just go ahead and put a fraction bar, and you just decide what goes on the top and what goes on the bottom. If it's positive, it goes on the numerator. If it's negative, it goes on the denominator. Don't put a negative in your answer. It just tells you where to put it. All right, so this first one, we're going to take that 9 and put it back. You'll have x to the 9th. And then this one is going to go on the denominator since it's negative. So the x squared plus 5 goes on the bottom. That one doesn't have a power, so just by itself. And then this one goes back on the top. If you put the 1/4 back, that means it is a 4th root. So it is 4th root x plus 1. And these are being multiplied. If you want to like stick a little dot in there, you can, or not. I mean, multiplication, you don't really need to put anything there, but if you want to put a dot, then you can. I think I had it separated that those were all the non-calculator. Yeah, when we flip over, this is your calculator part. So you're going to get 2 different pages for your test. And you'll go into your Desmos calculator for this. All right. These are where the bulk of the points are at. You cannot fall apart on this section. Do you understand? And I don't have, you're not going to like this. I don't have a, they all turn out this kind of a way. You have to think about the tools in your toolbox and what the problem looks like and go, well, what can I do? I notice in this one, there's a plus. What does that mean I do with these 2 things? Multiply. So you kind of just have to look at what's there and go, well, what can I do? So put log base 3, and then we're going to multiply these together. So x times x squared. The outsides give you a minus 2x. The insides give you a plus 2x. So those cancel. That's gone. And then minus 4. Good. Equals 3. Now I'm kind of stuck. What's the base? 3. So it's 3 to the power 3 equals x squared minus 4. And I'm just going to erase. Again, I told you you're going to have to write small here. If you write large, you can go grab a piece of scratch paper. That's fine. What is 3 to the third? That's 27. Got 2 more steps. What would you do next? Yeah, plus 4. So that'll be, what is that, 31? And then your last step is square root. Typically, you would put a plus and a minus, but you can't log a negative number. And if you plug a negative square root back in here, you're going to get a negative result. So you have to get rid of that one. This one looks super complicated. I'm just going to throw the question out there and see what I get. Does anyone remember what we did for ones that look like this? What's that? Well, they do both have a base of 3. You need to substitute out something. What's that? Yeah, it's u substitution is what it's called. So we're going to let u equal 3 to the x. So this first term is going to be u squared. Do you see why it's squared? There's a squared there, is all that is. Minus what? Yeah, well, just 2u minus 24 equals 0. And do you see how it looks better now? That's the point, is you take something that looks awful and you make it look a little bit better. So what would we do to that? Yeah, we're going to factor. 24 would split 6 and 4. Plus 4 minus 6. So we get u equals negative 4 and u equals 6. You're not looking for u, though. You're looking for x. So you have to plug this back in. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to have 3 to the x equals negative 4 and 3 to the x equals 6. One of those we're going to toss out. There is no exponent on God's green earth that will give you a negative result. You can try forever. It's not going to happen. This one's not going to work. No. That's not how that works. What's your base? 3. So you're going to do log base 3 of 6 and put it in the Desmos calculator. Can you girls focus for me, please? I'm going to hand you a test next time I see you. All right, do you guys remember how to type this in? Functions. We're going to go in here to functions, scroll down and find log base. There was another way. Is it shift minus? If you do shift minus, it'll give you a subscript. Oops. And then the first 3 that you see. So 1.630. First 3 that you see. That's probably the hardest one on there. And we got through it. Yay. What would you do to get rid of the 5 in this one? Yeah, divide. So e to the power of all that stuff equals 2/5. Just divide the 5 over. Then what do you think? Since there is an e. ln, it's going to be 1 minus 4x equals ln 2/5. To cancel out e, you use ln. And from there, you're just trying to get x by itself. So what would you do next? Yep, subtract 1. So we got negative 4x equals ln 2/5 minus 1. And then divide by negative 4. And I'm going to just put all that in the calculator and get a decimal. Question? It's not if you don't understand it. Okay. All right, so what have we got here? Now, ln, you can just type an L and an N. Ln 2/5, what was it, minus 1? And then the whole thing divided by negative 4. 0.479. All right, over here, what do you see in this problem? What does it have? A plus. What does that mean we're going to do? Multiply. Good. You're going to multiply x times x plus 1. So that would give you x squared plus x. So stop, take a step back, look at it. Now what do you notice you've got on both sides? Yeah, log base 10. So since they're the same, they cancel or drop out or, whatever you're going to call that. And then what? You have x squared plus x equals 20. Now what? Yeah. Evacuate. Minus over the 20, so it all equals 0, and then we're going to factor. Probably going to get one positive and one negative answer and have to get rid of the negative one. So what is it, 4 and 5? I think I heard somebody whisper it out over here. Plus 5 minus 4. And you get rid of the negative 5. If you plug negative 5 back into the original problem, you get a log of a negative. You can't log a negative, so get rid of that one. All right, what do you guys think about 34? What would you do if you saw a problem? Change the base. You can make them both 2. I wouldn't try to make them a fraction. I would make them both 2. 2 to what power gives you a half? Yeah, -1. And then like the other stuff is still there. You did a lot on Delta Math that they had you do this. And then on the other side, 2 to what power gives you 4? 2 squared is 4. So the idea is once you make them the same, can you guys not? If you're distracting me, then that's the problem. So those are gone. What are you going to do with this negative? Yep, distribute. So -7 plus 3x equals 2. And then you just solve that like a regular algebra problem. So you'll get 3x equals 9, x equals 3. That one wasn't too bad. They're not all going to be really hard. Some of them will be easier. I don't think 35 is that hard either. When you see ln, how do you cancel that out? E. You're going to have x cubed minus 2 equals e to the 5th. Common mistake I get with this is people put 5e. That's not what it is. It's exponential. You need an exponent. It's e to the power 5. All right, then what? Add 2. And then how do you get rid of a cubed? Yeah, cube root. It's been a while since we've typed a cube root in the calculator, so let's go over that. There's actually 2 ways you can do that. You can either do the shortcut, which I like, it's CBRT. If you guys can remember LOL and WDM and SMH, all those abbreviations you use when you're texting, you can remember CBRT, okay? So CBRT is your cube root. The other way you can do it is if you go into functions. I don't remember where it is, but it's in there somewhere. Is it like all the way at the bottom? Yeah, there it is. This one right here. Okay. Oh, whoops, I was clicked in the wrong spot. I just do CBRT because I think that's faster and easier, but you guys all good? There's 2 ways you can do it. All right, and then in there we have e to the 5th power plus 2. What's this thing giving me thumbs? There we go. 5.318. You got to type it right to get the right answer. 5.318. I'm going to X all these out so that I don't have a mess in here. We've got 15 minutes. I'm going to be able to finish this. That was my goal, is to finish it before people leave. Yes, ma'am. All right, do you see this 3 out front? We're going to divide that over. So you get 5 to the power 7x equals 8. Now, when you see ln, you would use e, or vice versa. For some reason, that goes okay, and then when it's a different number, everybody loses their mind. Just when you get stuck, what's the question? What's the base? The base is 5, so you're going to do log base 5. Get what I'm saying? Like, just whatever's there, do that. So 7x equals log base 5 of it. You're going to do log base 5. Whatever number is there, you just want to cancel it out. And then what's your last step? Yeah, divide by 7. So that's what I'm going to type in the calculator. And I don't think that one was that hard either. That one wasn't too bad. So log base 5. Here, I'll do your guys' shortcut. Was it shift minus? There we go. Log base 5 of 8. And then the whole thing divided by 7. 0.184. When you study, notice I said when you study. That's the section you really need to focus on because it's worth the most points. You cannot fall apart on those equations. All right, down here we've got our interest rate formulas. You have until next class to memorize them. What is it for continuously? Because everybody always remembers that one. Hurt, that's if it says continuously. The other one, P parenthesis. Does anyone remember what goes inside? I'll just throw the question. 1, good, plus, it's R over N to the end. I always say to the end to try and get people to remember. It's to the end. All right, find the value for $10,000, 5 years, blah, 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 blah. They're going to give you all the ingredients. You just shove it into the recipe. We're using this one right here. $10,000, parenthesis, 1 plus, and then what's R? What's our interest rate? Good. You have to scoot that decimal point. You'll catch it if you don't, though, because you're going to get like gazillions of dollars and hopefully be like, okay, that's not right. Over N, this says semi-annually, so that means N is 2. Good. And then it's to the power 2 times T is time, so 5 years. While I type this, I want you to think about an answer that makes sense. What are we expecting this to come out to, like, roughly? More than 10,000. Oh, wait, was it 12? No, 10,000. So more than 10,000, but not like, not going to be over 12. Without, I don't actually know. 12,000 might be okay, but not like $100 million. All right, what is this? It's to the 10th power. Oh, there it was a little bit over 12,000. 13,116.51. You can do 2 decimal places for money. So 2 decimal places for money is okay. I'll take whatever you put is fine. The only reason I do that first 3 that you see is I'm trying to get you ready for calculus next year because that's what it is on the AP exam. Yeah. All right. Shh. Almost there, guys. You can be okay. Yeah, put that away. You just inherited $15,500. Go you. So you have 2 options for an investment. We're going to do option 1, option 2, and see which one comes out better. So let's do option 1. We're going to take our $15,500. We want to compound quarterly. So parenthesis 1 plus. What's our interest rate for that one? For option 1. Yep, 0.65. Quarterly means N is 4. And then it would be to the power 4 times whatever time is. Got to be in there somewhere. 7. Okay, so hold on. I'm going to set up the other one, and then I'll go type that in. So let's do option 2. Option 2 is 6% compounded continuously, so that's PERT. So you take your money, E to the power. Now, the interest rate for that one's different. They're 2 different options. So what's the interest rate for that one? Yep, 0.06 times time, which is, the time doesn't change. Time is still 7 years. So we're just going to see which one comes out bigger. And I like that you said that. You want to have like an idea, like, hey, I think it might be this one, but I'm going to make it so they turn out close. Okay. So it is this 1.065. It was quarterly, so that's 4. 4 times 7 is 28. Okay, so there's the first one. $24,341.50. I don't know if I made them that close. Wait, 0.6 times 7. That one is 23,590.40. So here's what you need to do. And I don't care how you do this. Probably circling is the easiest way. You have to indicate to me on your test which one is higher. So which is the one we want? The first one. So just circle it or put a star next to it or go, I want this one. In some capacity, you have to tell me that's the better one. Okay. Last one. In school, we learn stuff that unfortunately we don't retain for very long. Before I even read any further, do you know how when you learn something, and I don't care what subject it's in, math or otherwise, the second you learn it, you know it, right? In theory. And then as time goes by, what happens? You forget stuff, but you never forget all of it. For example, I took chemistry years ago, and I still know electrons go around the outside of an atom. Do you know what I mean? Like you're going to remember something. It's not going to all go away. All right. So with that in mind, let's continue on with the problem. This is your function that you're using. Do you see this right here? Maybe put like a box around it. This is what we're using. That's the percentage of information that you remember X weeks after learning it. So it's like X weeks have gone by. Determine the percentage of information the first moment it's learned. How much time went by if you just learned it? None, 0. So I'm going to just talk you through this without a calculator. 0 times anything. 0. 5 halves to the 0 power is 1 times 80 is 80. And 80 plus 20 is 100. That should make sense. If you literally just learned it, in theory, you should know all of it. I get that that's not true all the time, but do you get what I'm saying? In theory, if I just told you something, you would know it, all right? Now, this one says after 4 weeks, we're going to take 4 and plug it in. I'm going to use the calculator. All you have to do is watch and make sure you understand how I'm typing this and make sure you could type it too. All right, so what does that say? 80 parenthesis. Here, help me out. Make sure I don't type this. 5 halves to the power negative 0.5. What was I plugging in? 4 plus 20. 32.8. Yeah, and your units is percent for this, but hold on. We want to make sure that makes sense. If a month goes by, do you think you'd remember approximately a third of what you learned? Like you forgot some stuff, but you still remember some of it? It makes sense anyway. All right. I'm going to skip this one and come back to it because that one's going to be a little bit more work. So part D. As time goes by, this person will retain at least what percentage of information? I want you to look at this equation. They're going to, lose information, but where's it going to level off? Why 20? There is a what? A plus 20, which means what's in the graph? Horizontal asymptote, 20% because horizontal asymptote, you can abbreviate, y equals 20. All right, last one. Now this is kind of backwards. Here we took the 4 weeks and just plugged it in. This one's asking you for the number of weeks, how much time. So you're going to take this whole equation. I'm sorry, but not really. You'll be okay. You're going to take the whole thing and set it equal to 50. Now, real quick. After 4 weeks, you were down to about 30-something%. So if you still remember 50%, what kind of an answer are you expecting? Like maybe 2 weeks or something. It's going to be a decimal, but like make sure your answer makes sense. Like a year isn't going to go by. Now I'm going to do a little bit of erasing here because I don't have enough space. Your first step would be to minus the 20. What does that mean this is going to equal? 30. Yeah, work with me because I don't have I tried to fit it on one sheet for you. Your next step, you would divide by the 80. 30 divided by 80 is 3/8. I heard somebody whisper it back there. Again, I'm just erasing because I don't have a lot of space. Now, look back at number 36 that we did. Do you see this one here? Do you see how the base was 5 and we did a log base 5? Okay, don't overthink this. What's the base in this one? 5/2. So you're going to have log base 5/2 of 3/8. It doesn't matter that they're fractions. You're going to type it in Desmos. You don't have to actually do that. The calculator is going to do it. And the base can be a fraction. The only thing the base can't be is what? Good job, negative. And then you have one more step. How would you get the x? Yeah, divide by negative 0.5. I'm going to divide this by negative 0.5. And I'm literally just going to type that in the calculator. So everybody watch. Let me get rid of that mess. So log, what is it? Shift minus. Don't stop listening to me. We're going to type this in together. 2/5, or was it 5/2? Oh, whoops. Okay, yeah, don't type it wrong. 5/2, and then that is 3/8. Hey, don't be respectful. We're almost done. And then that whole thing is divided by negative 0.5. Oh, look, you guys were right with your estimation. 2.140 what? Weeks. You guys need to make sure you study for this test. If no one ever sat you in a seat and explained to you how you study for math, this is how you study for math. You do the problems. It is by doing the stuff. I always liken it to like practicing for a sport. If you're practicing basketball, you do free throws. Do you just watch someone else do free throws and go, oh, I practiced? No. If you take this and just go like this, did you study? No, that's not studying. You have to rework the problems and then check your answers.